Welcome to Science Store online classes.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.
Hello dear students, welcome back to biology online classes. So the chapter what we are discussing is about organism and populations under CET NEET. So take out the worksheet. We have started with the worksheet and we have completed up to 30 questions. Let me move to question number 31. Just as a person moving from Delhi to Shimla to escape the heat for the duration of hot summer. Of course, people migrate from Shimla, from Delhi to Shimla to escape the heat because during summer, peak summer, there is immense heat in the Delhi. So they will obviously move to Shimla, which is much cooler place. Thousands of migratory birds from Siberia. Siberia is a very cold climatic place. So thousands of migratory birds such as Arctic tern, the bird, it migrates, and other extremely cold northern regions move to. So during the winter, the different species they migrate from colder region, extreme cold region to the warmer region. Okay. To which place the birds will move? The question. There are four options: A, Western Ghats; 2, B, Meghalaya; C, Corbett National Park; D, Keolado National Park. Yeah, right option is the option D, Keolado National Park. So this particular national park is present in Bharatpur district in the state of Rajasthan. Okay. So it is famously known as Keolado National Park. Earlier was known as Bharatpur National Park. Major center for tourist attraction. Okay. So in the winter season, the Siberian cranes, there are over 30 species of these cranes, species of birds, they migrate. Okay. Western Ghats is the region you find in the western belts of the India. There are 6 states covering Gujarat, Goa, then Karnataka, then Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra. So these 6 states which comes under the belt of Western Ghats. So these Western Ghats are known or famous for their rich endemic species. The species is confined to only such geographical area, not found elsewhere. Okay, and they are rich abundance in the species. So that's why they are one of the mega biodiversity hotspots, Western Ghats. Meghalaya is also known for what? Sacred groves, isn't it? Hills of Meghalaya. Okay, Meghalaya also is one of the biodiversity hotspot. Okay. Next, Corbett National Park, it is found in Uttar Pradesh, which is named after Jim Corbett, and it is famous for the the tiger population. Okay, Indian tiger. Next, move to question number 32. MacArthur's vision of 5 closely related species of warblers living on same tree were able to avoid competition and coexist by behavioral difference. This is an example for, okay, A, competitive release; B, resource partitioning, C. competitive exclusion principle, or D. adaptive radiation. Okay students, the concept of adaptive radiation you are supposed to study in the topic chapter evolution, but for 2021 this chapter has been removed from the boards. Okay, so you don't have to worry about the concept of adaptive radiation. We will see the other three important concepts. The right answer is option B, resource partitioning, but we have studied in the theory about the competitive release as well as competitive exclusion principle. Now what do you mean by competitive release? Now suppose there are two different species, they are occupying a same geographical area in a given interval of time. The superior species will eliminate the inferior species because of their better adaptation for that area. Because how they better adapted? They better adapted because their feeding habits, they have superior feeding habits, so they can eliminate the inferior one. So when a scientist known as Cornell, he has done his elegant experiment in the Scotland in the intertidal sea area, where he has removed the more dominated species, that is the barnacle species, Balanus, with the less dominated species, means inferior species. So when he removed the dominated species, that is superior species of barnacle, that is Balanus, with the inferior species, that is Chalthamalus, they started to flourish, Chalthamalus, because they are not competitors, there are no superior competitors for them. Okay, that is known as competitive release. So when you remove the superior species, okay, then the inferior species can flourish there and they can expand their geographical area. Similarly, what is competitive exclusion principle? It was given by Gauss, so it is famously known as Gauss competitive exclusion principle. So according to this principle, when two closely related species competing for the same resource, for example food as a resource, they cannot coexist indefinitely, and the competitively inferior one are eliminated. Okay, inferior one will be eliminated eventually by the superior ones. This was told by Gauss. But according to the resource partitioning, there is some solution for this problem, for the competitive exclusion principle. Now even though there are species which are closely related to each other, okay, they can also occupy the same given geographical area in a given interval of time. Although their feeding, the food resources are same, they can still coexist by the phenomena called as resource partitioning, which is given by MacArthur. So he has given the examples for 5 closely related species of warbler bird. This warbler bird, they were living on a large, huge tree. Okay, they are living on huge tree, and due to the difference in their foraging pattern, means feeding pattern, as well as the time of the day where they visit the tree, it is different. Okay, so their feeding habit is different, and time of foraging is also different. How? Suppose there are 5 different species of warblers. Some may depend on some parts of the tree, other may depend on other parts of the tree. Few species may depend upon the top of the tree. Okay, similarly they eat the foliage, the leaves of the tree. Some may eat the seeds, some may depend on the fruits, some may feed at the middle of the tree. They may depend upon the tree trunks as well as the branches of the tree. Some are found at the bottom of the tree. They may be depend upon the roots. So the foraging habit, their feeding habit is different, and some may visit early morning for the food on the same tree. Some may visit late morning. Some visit in the afternoon or early evening, or some may visit late evening. So they have changed their foraging habit as well as the time of feeding, so that 5 closely related species of the warble birds were coexisting in a given geographical area in a given interval of time. Okay, this resource partitioning and explained by MacArthur. Very important question, not only for your CET NEET competitive exams, but also for the boards. Let's move to question number 33. The process the process of decomposition delays when, this is from the chapter ecosystem. What is the next chapter? So we'll skip that question and move to question number 34. A plant shows the following modifications, adjustments. What are those? 1. Leaves are covered with dense hairs. Point number 2. Leaf surface shiny or glabrous meaning smooth. Leaf blade remains rolled during the daytime. So all these, the adaptations of the plant is due to, for what reason? A. To conserve water. B. Prevent excessive heat. C. Check the rate of transpiration. D. Absorbs the water. You know what is transpiration? Transpiration is the process where the evaporation of water vapors takes place from the aerial parts of the plants, such as the leaves, especially leaves, majority the leaves, as well as the stem. So in order to preserve or conserve the water, they have certain modifications, these plants. Presence of thick hair, sunken stomata, thick cuticle, presence of smooth or glabrous surface, then also the presence of the leaf blades which remained rolled during the daytime, because daytime the rate of evaporation or transpiration is high. So in order to conserve the water, they need to check the transpiration. So the right option is the option C, to check the transpiration. If the plants are able to check the transpiration, then obviously they will conserve the water also. So the right option is the option C or 3. Let's move to question number 35. Asymptote is in a logistic curve is obtained when options are the value of R approaches 0. Option B, K is equal to N. Here K is the carrying capacity and N is the population density. C, K is greater than N, or D, K is smaller than N. So you know that no population of any species in nature has its disposal unlimited resources to prevent the exponential growth. It is not possible that the resources are abundant and it is unlimited. The resources are obviously, of course, it is limited only. So the organisms have to utilize these limited resources maximally to grow and to flourish. So this leads to the competition between the individuals for the limited resources. So what happened? Individually, eventually what happens? The fittest individuals will survive and they will reproduce according to the Darwin's theory, survival of the fittest. The one who is fittest in the race will survive. There is initially overpopulation and struggle for existence, and then who is fit will survive the race, and he will reproduce and carrying the progeny from generation to another generation. Okay, so even this is true not only in the human population but also in the animal population. Okay, so in nature a given habitat has enough resources. You take any habitat, it has got enough resources to support a maximum possible number. Okay, and beyond which no further growth is possible. This is known as the carrying capacity. Okay, and it is given by the capital K for the species in the given habitat. That is called as the carrying capacity, maximum ability. So If you draw a graph, you will get a logistic growth curve. What do you get? A logistic growth curve means a population growing in a given habitat with limited resources. Initially, they show a lag phase. If I draw a graph for you, initially they show a lag phase. Initially, they show a lag phase. You see here, I'll take two axes, one is the x-axis and y-axis. Initially, they have the lag phase. Then what happens? Followed by phase of acceleration and then starts deceleration. Now, it is accelerating and then it is decelerating. Then it will come to a stable state, and that stable state, it is called as asymptote. What is called as asymptote? Asymptote. There is no symptomatic further growth in the given population, in a given habitat. So initially they have a phase that is called as the lag phase here. Then I write a phase of acceleration. Then comes the phase of deceleration. Then you have asymptote where the growth stops. Okay. So even it is given clearly in the NCERT, they have taken the population density, that is n, along the y-axis, and time period, that is t, along the x-axis. Population density n is equal to along the y-axis. Okay, students. So we plot n in relation to time t. It results in a curve. What do you call this curve which looks like a shape of S? It is called as the sigmoid curve. This curve is called as the sigmoid curve. It's called as a sigmoid curve. So take down this. So this type of population growth, it is given a Verhulst Pearl logistic growth curve. Verhulst Pearl logistic growth curve. And mark it as an important question for CET NEET. So at that time, the K, when it is equal to n, that means the carrying capacity is equal to the population density. So asymptote in a logistic curve is obtained. That means maximum possible population can be held, okay, in a given habitat, okay, beyond which it cannot, that is the carrying capacity. So that K is equal to n at that stage. So I'll let here K is equal to n during asymptote stage. It's clear? So very important question. Let's move to next question number 36. Question number 36 for you. Mycorrhizae are the example of A. Fungistasis, B. Amensalism, C. Antibiosis, D. Mutualism. Further, one more important question. Now, what do you mean by fungistasis? Fungistasis means the capacity of the soils to inhibit the germination and growth of soil-borne fungi when optimal abiotic conditions such as temperature, moisture, pH, etc. they occurs. Once again I will repeat, the capacity of the soils to inhibit the growth of and the germination of soil-borne fungi. Okay, when the optimal abiotic conditions such as temperature or moisture etc. are occurred or provided, that is called as fungistasis. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of amensalism? Amensalism is the population interaction where one of the two interacting species get detrimental effect, that is the negative effect, another one remains unaffected, neither beneficial nor harmful. So minus and zero kind of relationship, that is called as amensalism. Then what is the third option? That is antibiosis. Okay. In antibiosis also, one of the participating organism getting detrimental effect, that is negative effect, minus, another one is neither get affected, neither get harmed or nor benefited, so it is remaining unaffected. So this is also an example for minus and zero kind of interaction, that is antibiosis. One example for antibiosis is the penicillium, the mold which is growing on bread. Okay, so that penicillium can be used as antibiotic for the treatment of bacterial infection. You know that antibiotics means they are only given against the infection of bacteria. Correct? So who is harmed here? The bacteria is harmed, it is killed, but the penicillium, it is neither get benefited or nor harmed. So it is a classic example for minus and zero kind of interaction. Got it? So it is also a kind of amensalism. It is also, antibiosis is also a kind of amensalism. There are basically two types of amensalism. One is the competition, another one is the antibiosis. Okay, two types of amensalism. One is competition, another one is antibiosis. So competition is a type of amensalism where the two competing species, one superior species may get beneficial effect, another inferior species may be eliminated, or both may be eliminated in the fight. Correct? But antibiosis is not like that. It is a kind of minus and zero kind of a interaction. One more I'll give you an example from the plant kingdom. Okay, in USA, in United States of America, there is a plant that is called as black walnut tree. Black walnut tree. It produces a chemical that is called as juglone. What is that called as? Juglone. Okay, it is a huge tree. It's called as what? Black walnut tree. It produces a chemical called as the juglone. So when it produces that chemicals, it spreads it to the surrounding, and what are the smaller plants like say the herbs, the grasses surrounding that tree, that will be killed, or whatever the weed plants, unwanted plants are there in the surrounding, in the vicinity, they are killed because of these chemicals. But the plant which secrete this chemical neither get harmed nor get benefited. So it is a classical example for a minus and zero kind of a population interaction, and it is commonly known as antibiosis. Let's move the next option. It is mutualism. Here mutualism is the right answer, that is the option D for mycorrhizae are the example of, where the two interacting species are benefited each other. They are just like made for each other. Both are plus and plus. Both are get benefited. Okay. Mycorrhiza, mycota means fungi. Mycology means study of fungus. So here what happens? The fungi which are associated with the roots of vascular plants. Okay. The vascular plants are the one which are possessing xylem and phloem. xylem being the water conductive tissue and phloem being the food conductive tissue. So if you see these vascular plants, in their roots there are fungi, and the body of the fungi, it is called as mycelium, which are having the branched structures. These are called as the hyphae. So these hyphae spreads in such a way that they absorbs the water and minerals from the soil and provides it to the plant, and the plant produces the plant gives the shelter to the fungi. So both the partners are mutually benefited. Such type of interaction, that is called as the mutualism, mycorrhizal association. So the right option is the option D. Next we will move to the question number 37. Ecology at the organism level is essentially what? Four options: A. Autoecology, B. Physiological ecology, C. Population ecology, D. Community ecology. So it is given in your NCERT page number 220. Okay. So ecology at the organism level is essentially a physiological ecology. Means physiological ecology means what? Adjustment of organisms make in order to survive and to reproduce successfully in their ever changing environment. That forms the physiological ecology, and that is the right option, option B. Now what is community ecology? It is called as, I have explained, community ecology is called as synecology. It is called as synecology. Okay, then if the ecology is autoecology, then that means it is the study of interrelationship between the individuals, organisms with their surrounding environment. That is called as autoecology. Synecology is study of interrelationship between the population or the community with its environment. So population or community with the environment, it is called as synecology, and autoecology means the individual and the interaction of the individual with the surrounding environment. Okay. So population ecology means the ecology which deals with the study of population. Okay. The population which is exhibiting in a given geographical area in any given interval of time. Let's move to question number 38. Formation of major biomes, such as you take desert, take rainforest, tundra, all depends on A. Annual precipitation and temperature, B. Snow and rain, C. Intensity of light, D. Availability of water. So the right option is the option A, the annual precipitation and temperature. There is a graph in the NCERT textbook, page number 220. You can see along the x-axis they have given the mean annual precipitation. Precipitation means which includes both snow as well as the rainfall. They are given in terms of centimeters, and along the y-axis they have given some mean annual temperature. The temperature is given in terms of degrees Celsius, and according to that average temperature and the rainfall, there are different habitats or large habitats called as biomes are formed, such as tundra, rainforest, desert. So the right option is the option A. Let's move to question number 39. Find the incorrect statement. A. On planet Earth, life exists not just in a few favorable habitats, but even in extreme and harsh habitats, such as scorching Rajasthan desert you take, or rain soaked Meghalaya forest you take, or deep oceanic trenches you take, or boiling thermal springs, or stinking compost pits, the life exists, such as the microorganisms. But, so that is the right option. Option B, physico-chemical components alone do not characteristics the habitat of an organism completely. This is also correct. Physical and chemical conditions of different habitats. The most important ones here are the temperature, water and light, as well as the soil. So we must here remember that the physico-chemical components alone, they do not characteristics the habitat of any organisms completely, but the biotic components such as the presence of say pathogens, the parasites, predators, competitors, all these organisms which they interact consistently among themselves as well as their surrounding environment, that also plays a very important or vital role to play. Got it? So that is also the right option, option B. Then see the option C, a specific place in an ecosystem where an organism lives and performs its function in is habitat. Correct? Habitat means the place where the organism lives happily. Specific place in an ecosystem where an organism lives and performs its functions, that is called its habitat, the place where it lives. Now see the option D, permafrost conditions do not show any life. Life even exists in the extreme or the harsh environmental conditions such as the permafrost. Okay, what is a permafrost means? So it is the term which is used in geology. Geology means study of earth. So permafrost is a ground including rock or the soil at or below the freezing temperature, that is 0 degrees Celsius, for 2 or more years, and that forms a permafrost, very cold region, that is a very cold rock soil, that is the permafrost. So life exists, the microorganisms exist even in these conditions, that is called as the permafrost. So the incorrect option is the option D. Number 40, the average temperature dash from the equator towards the poles and from plains to the mountain tops. Now the average temperature decreases when you go from the equator towards the poles and from plains to the mountain tops. Okay, if you go away from the equator and if you reach the mountain tops, the temperature is drastically decreasing, the temperature is low. So the right option is decreases progressively, that is the option D. Let's move to question number 41. Temperature influence the following except A, kinetics of enzymes, B, geographical distribution of species, C, basal metabolism of an organism, D, genetic equilibrium. Temperature influence the following except what? Kinetics of enzymes. What is kinetics of enzymes? Study of chemical reactions catalyzed by the enzymes. Okay, low temperature. Okay, so that low temperature, very low temperature, say 20 to 25 degrees Celsius, the enzyme will not function properly. But if you take very high temperature which go beyond certain 40 degrees Celsius, then the enzymes get denatured, because what are enzymes? Enzymes are proteins. Proteins get denatured at very high temperature. What's my point? So there must be a temperature which is called as the optimum temperature at which the enzymes work at their best. So that is our body temperature, which is 37 degrees Celsius or 98.3 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, so that is the enzyme kinetics. Now, geographical distribution of a species. What is geographical distribution of a species? The species which they have distributed in the different geographical range, that is geographical distribution of a species. Then what is basal metabolism of an organism? BMR, you have heard. So metabolic rate of a person measured under basal condition means when a person is awakened and when he is in absolute physical and mental rest, okay, after 12 hours of absolute fasting, and when the environmental temperature is said to be around 16 to say around 20 to 25 degree Celsius, and that is called as the BMR or basal metabolic rate. Once again, you can note down what is the basal metabolic rate. The metabolic rate of a person measured under basal conditions means when a person is awakening and when in absolute physical and mental rest after 12 hours of absolute fasting, and when the environmental temperature is around 20 degrees Celsius to 25 degrees Celsius. So very important definition. Then what about genetic equilibrium? Temperature influences the following. All these temperature influences the following: geographical distribution of the species. Some of the species are living in extreme high temperatures, means extreme warmer conditions. Few of the organisms, they only thrive well in very cold temperature, extremely low temperatures. So the geographical distribution of the species also depends upon the temperature. So the temperature means it influences the kinetics of the enzymes, geographical distribution of the species, basal metabolism of an organism, but not the option D, that is genetic equilibrium. So mark that option, genetic equilibrium. Now what do you mean by genetic equilibrium? So it is a condition of allele to contrasting pair of a gene, that is called as an allele. So it is a condition of allele or a genotype in a gene pool where the frequency does not change from generation to generation. I repeat, genetic equilibrium is a condition of allele or a genotype in a gene pool where the frequency does not change from generation to generation. For example, in the 2000, the population of frogs were say around 20 in a pond. After 2 years, the population is not altered and it remains constant, that is 20 only. In between that, there may be many frogs might have died and a few frogs may born, correct? Few might have migrated to the different habitat, few may be immigrated from the different habitat, but the total population remains constant even after 2 years, that is 20 only. So there is an equilibrium is maintained between the genes in a gene pool. Okay, so there are various factors which affects this. You have to study in the chapter evolution. So that is mutation, recombination, then genetic drift, then gene migration, gene flow, natural selection. These are the different factors which affects the genetic equilibrium. Like first one is mutation, any change happens in the gene that causes disturbance in the genetic equilibrium. Or if there is any recombination during meiosis, that will also disturb the genetic equilibrium. If there is a genetic drift, migration of genes, gene flow, okay, or selected by the nature, natural selection, all these are the factors which affects the genetic equilibrium at last. Okay, so the right option is option D. That means the temperature influences the following except the genetic equilibrium. Let's move to question number 42. Eurythermal organisms A can tolerate narrow range of temperature, B can tolerate wide range of temperature, C can tolerate narrow range of salinity, or D can tolerate wide range of salinity. Mark it as an important question. Eurythermal organisms means they can tolerate wide range of temperature. Euryhaline organisms means they can tolerate only narrow range of temperature. Euryhaline organisms means which can tolerate a high amount of salinity, and euryhaline or stenohaline means which can tolerate only a narrow range of salinity. So these concepts you have already studied. Now what are the examples for stenothermal organisms? Stenothermal organisms: salmon, some crustaceans. Then among the plant species, bougainvillea, orchids, okay, some fruits, etc. Examples for eurythermal, you can give the example of tiger, man, cats, dogs, mammals. Among the plants, you can give the examples like roses, daisy, some vegetables and fruits. Similarly, you can give the examples for euryhaline animals like Atlantic stingray, salmon fish, plants such as sea grasses. Similarly, you can give the example for stenohaline organisms like goldfish, hydrilla, lotus, etc. Next, question number 43. Find the correct statement with respect to water. Which is the correct statement with respect to water? Now, A. For aquatic organisms, the chemical composition and pH of water becomes important. Correct. For aquatic organisms, the chemical composition as well as pH of water becomes important. Few organisms you can find in low pH, few you can find in the high pH. Even chemical composition varies in the water bodies, right? In the freshwater body it is something else, in the sea water it is something else. So that is the right option, that is the option A. Now see the option B. The salt concentration is less than 15 in inland waters. It is wrong. It should be less than 5 in inland waters. 30 to 35 in the sea. 30 to 35 in the sea, okay. And lesser than 100 in hypersaline lagoons, parts per 1000. It should be greater than 100 in parts per 1000. Okay, of course it is 30 to 35 in the sea, but it should be greater than 100 parts per 1000 in the hypersaline lagoons. We are already discussed this. So B is not the right option. C. Stenohaline organisms can tolerate wide range of salinity ಅಂತ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. It is wrong. It is the euryhaline organisms who can tolerate wide range of salinity. Next, D. Many freshwater animals cannot live for long in the seawater, but many marine animals can live in the freshwater. Absolutely wrong here. Many freshwater animals cannot live for long in seawater. That is correct. What happens if the freshwater is brought to the seawater? Then the phenomena called as exosmosis takes place, because the water molecules will start to move from the region of its higher concentration towards the region of its lower concentration. That means if you see the water molecules, their concentration is more in case of fresh water, because dissolved salts are less. But if you take in case of sea water, the dissolved salts are more and the concentration of water is less. So you already know the phenomena of osmosis. So osmosis is the process of movement of the water molecules from the region of its higher concentration towards the region of the lower concentration, correct, with the help of plasma membrane, which is the semi-permeable membrane, correct. So here what happens? Exosmosis takes place. Similarly, if you many marine animals can live in fresh water. No, marine animals, if you bring to the fresh water, what will happen? The water molecules will start to move inside the body of the fishes. That means endosmosis takes place, and finally the fishes will bulge and they finally burst open. The body gets burst, correct. So there is a phenomena called as osmoregulation should be maintained in both freshwater fishes as well as in marine fishes. So some fishes can live only best in fresh waters, and some can survive only in the marine waters because of osmolarity of the water. It is different. Let's move to question number 44. Light influence: A. Photosynthesis in plants. B. Photoperiodism in flowering plants. C. Foraging, reproductive and migratory activities in animals. D. All of the above. Okay. Now light means the light influence all of the above, that is option D. It may be photosynthesis in plants, or maybe photoperiodism, the period of light in flowering plants. There are flowering plants which requires only short period of light. Those are called as short day plants. There are flowering plants which require long day of light for their flowering. So those are called as long day plants. And there are plants which are called as day neutrals, because their flowering period will not affected by the duration of light. Okay. So next, foraging, feeding, reproductive and migratory activities in animals are also affected by the light. Okay. Few animals, they will reproduce when the intensity of light is more, when the heat is more. Few animals, they will reproduce when the intensity of the light is less, when the heat is less. Feeding habits: they get sufficient food, then they will so the light influences the foraging. If some of the animals, they are nocturnal, means they are active during the daytime, night time. Some are diurnal, means they are more active during the daytime. So according to that, the animals will go in search of food. So light also influences that foraging. And migratory activities in animals: few animals will migrate early in the morning, few migrate late in the evening. So it also depends on what kind of the animals they are. So all of these means they influence, the light influences all of these. That means photosynthesis in plants, photorespiration in flowering in plants, photoperiodism in flowering in plants, foraging, reproductive and migratory activities in animals. Let's move to question number 45. In the aquatic environment, which characteristics often determine the type of benthic animals? Benthic means what? Benthic means bottom dwellers, means the animals which are found at the bottom of the water bodies. Those are the benthic animals. Now, in the aquatic environment, which characteristic is often determine the type of benthic animals? A. Temperature of water. B. Salinity of water. C. Sedimentation. D. None of this. Benthic animals means at the bottom, that is called as what? C. sedimentation. It is called as the sedimentation. See, soil composition. What is present in the soil? That is the soil composition. Then the grain size. What is the size of the grain in the soil? And the aggregation, whether the grains are very closely aggregated or whether they are loosely aggregated, that determines the percolation, that means water holding capacity of the soils. See, if the grain size is very high, then there will be more space in between the grains, so that water can seep easily, water can flow easily through the soil. Suppose if there is a very little gap between the grain particles, means the soil particle size is very less, if they are tightly packed, then there is hardly any space for the water to move, to seep in between. So loosely aggregated soils means their water holding capacity of that soil is less, and if the particles of the soil are very closely bound to each other, then the water holding capacity of that soil is much higher. So the soil composition, grain size and aggregates determine the percolation and water holding capacity of the soils, and which along with some other parameters such as pH, then the mineral composition, what kind of minerals they have, and the topography. Topography means external climatic conditions. They all determine the vegetation in an area. So similarly, in an aquatic environment, the sediment characteristics often determine the type of benthic animals that can survive in there. Okay, so sedimentation is the very important features, and that determines the kind of benthic animals which are survive in that particular condition. Okay, so with the students we have completed around 45 good amount of questions from the given worksheet that is under the chapter organisms and populations for the CET and NEET. So students, take down all the important points which I have written on the board, and also write down my lecture notes, and thank you students for watching the video.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe our YouTube channel for all the updates.